Hello, my Leaders Lane listeners. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Today, I am joined by Connor Treacy, a Los Angeles based entrepreneur, music executive, and cultural strategist working at the intersection of music, nightlife, and politics. At just 19, he made headlines with a Project X style event that opened doors to elite industry circles. He went on to co found Off Sunset, a West Hollywood nightclub, and has generated over $4 million in its first year and attracted A-listers and power players. As a former manager at Universal Music Group, Connor contributed to Grammy-winning and multi-platinum projects including Dua Lipa's Best Pop Vocal Album and helped launch breakout artists like Youngblood. Both of those I'm sure you've heard of. He's also raised capital through his own management company, landed major publishing deals, and overseen music projects that have surpassed 1 billion streams. And if that wasn't enough, he's recently completed his Master of Law and has a year left of his MBA. So he's an impressive young man, and I am very excited to welcome him to the chat. Connor, thank you for joining me.
Hey Monica, thank you for the intro. It's great to be on here. I'm excited, and I'm excited for the fire chat stuff after too.
Yes, before we started our conversation, I gave Connor a heads up about the Leaders Lane Sprint, and if you listen to the show, you'll be familiar with it. So it is a fun part of the show. But anyway, I'd like to kick things off and just ask you, what was something or the things that inspired you as a kid, and how have they impacted your journey to date?
I guess there's like a few ways I could answer this. For one, I never had like a vision, I guess. Like even in high school, I never thought like I didn't even know what I wanted to do, to be honest with
Mm,
you. That being said, I did kind of like grow up in an environment, I guess, where like I don't know if like a stage dad is the right word, but I had like a dad that was like very involved in my life and like wanted me to like be very good at sports. Like I was like a national champion when I was like 10 in judo, and then I like quit, and then I like next day I had like a tennis pamphlet on my bed and I then started doing tennis. So like I guess I always was like being kind of pushed and like motivated, but I would say it was more like sports.
mm,
I definitely, I guess, had like a hustler kind of mentality. Like, I guess definitely I was probably like, one of those people like in elementary school, even that was like maybe like selling candy or doing like random things like that. But like, I didn't have any like grandiose like ideas. And then also, I will add, I even kind of felt like I would always see people like in high school or middle school, they like had their thing. And I was always like, fuck, like, I don't know what my thing is. You know what I mean? They kind of all of it kind of just stumbled upon me like when I turned like 19. I would say like that was around when it happened.
yeah, awesome. I could totally relate to the struggle and the angst of not knowing what you wanted to do as a grown up. You know, after leaving high school, I felt like I went through the same thing. I used to
Yeah.
call it when I was approaching 21, I used to call it my quarter life crisis because I was like, I don't know what to do with my life.
The whole
Uh,
thing was a crisis. It was just like a
yeah. And so, what, okay, tell me, what was the point where you sort of started thinking, I'll give, because you started with promoting, right? After
yeah.
high school, and that's sort of how you got into it. So, what was that like thought process like, or how did you get the idea to move in that direction?
Yeah, so I kind of like was doing little like kickback like type like parties and stuff when I guess like towards the end of like in my senior year maybe, and I was kind of like a little bit in the house party circuit, but like I really like started freshman year of college, and I would probably say like I got sober January 10th of 2012, and I've been sober ever since, and I would say probably like the event stuff kind of became like my new addiction where I was like thinking about it all the time. So if there's like one event maybe that leads to it, I would say maybe like that's kind of like what happened, because it was like a weird situation where like I kind of did like one or two and then I got sober, and then like they started to get big like pretty quick, and so I kind of like just got like fully dialed into it. It was like that, I guess like that would be like the moment or whatever, if that's what you're referencing.
Yeah. And I did read as I was doing my research for our chat that you mentioned that you really got a kick out of bringing people together. Was that a big part of the events, or was it driven with, to make money, or like what was your process at the beginning?
Yeah, so I obviously like never did anything necessarily to like lose money, but I never really was like, oh my God, like if I do this house party, then I'm gonna make like 10K. Then I
Yeah.
liked more the feeling of like putting together the event page on Facebook and like building the hype, and there's like hundreds or thousands of people that clicked attending and then putting the whole thing together. Like I just liked the process and doing it. Yeah, I never like had an idea in my head of like how much money I would necessarily. And I, honestly, I didn't even have a business plan really when I was doing them at the beginning. Like I kind of was, I kind of knew in my head. I was like, all right, like if I do it like this and this, then I'll like break even at the very least. Honestly, I was more concerned about them being good and just breaking even at the very least, like just so that I could keep building the momentum. Because I was still in school, so I didn't have like rent, and then I was teaching tennis lessons on the side, and that was kind of like what was paying for everything. So I wasn't even concerned necessarily about making money off them. I just wanted them to be good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, I think that's a really great starting point. You know, even if like you weren't consciously thinking, okay, I want this to be good because then if it's good, it can lead to something else. It's like, I think when you're connected to something and you actually care about delivering like a really good product or really good experience, event, whatever, it comes from a very different place than when you're trying to do something purely just to make money, I have found.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think like I didn't even have business training at the time, but I guess,
Mm,
it's the one thing I like learned from it, and maybe like advice I could give is, if you really take your time and like build it up the right way, like the money does come. I would say it probably took me a couple of years where it was like consistent money where I was like making money every time, but it was definitely in the beginning. Like they were always packed. It was always popping, but like
mm,
there was just issues, you know what I mean? Like I didn't really know how much to like pay for artists. Like I was so young that like a lot of my friends would like drink in the parking lot and then go in so I wouldn't hit a bar minimum. Like there, you know what I mean? So it
mm.
was just like figuring out all that, but none of that really I guess was like a huge issue in the end because yeah, so I guess, for anyone watching, like I would say like I don't even know if you should be concerned about like making the most profit in the beginning. I think just try to make it like a really good party and then the rest follows it, you know?
Yeah. And then tell me, at what point did you sort of realize I'm really good at this and this is something I want to maybe build into a business and, create further momentum with it?
I knew like right away.
Yeah.
Like right around when I got sober, like I was doing the parties. Like I even was just like talking to my friend, like joking about this, like that I went to school with. Like it never even crossed my mind to like apply for an internship, or no one was asking what company I was gonna work at. Like I was like, this is like what I'm gonna do. I was like fully in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it just found me. Didn't I was not trying to be like a party thrower like in high school, or like that was not the vibes. That was
Yeah.
just kind of how it went down.
And as you started moving in this direction, what was the support from your dad like?
As far as like financially or emotionally,
I guess I was just meaning maybe, yeah, emotionally in general. Like, did he like what you were doing? Like,
hated
or did you
hated
feel
it. Hated it with a passion. Hated it with a
really?
passion. Yeah, yeah. He wanted me to I don't know if he like I'm sure like deep down he probably wanted me to be like a pro tennis player, but like I mean I was pretty good at tennis, but it was never like no one was ever speculating that I was going to become like the next Nadal, or and you know what I mean? Like I was
Yeah.
always like I was like the kind of vibe like I would play like in practice sessions and stuff with like the best people in the crew, but like I was probably like middle of the pack, you know what I mean? So I have like some people that I like knew playing in the juniors that like went pro, but like I probably like if I really had dialed in, like I probably could have been like a pretty decent D1 player, but I ended up playing D3. So, but he hated it. He hated it. He didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
My dad's from Ireland. He moved here when he
Okay.
was like 22 or 23, and
Yeah.
he I think he's retired now, but he's an electrician. And so he would
Hmm.
always be like, you need to get a trade, like you need like you know what I mean? That was just like his mentality. So he hated it. He did not like it at all. Still hates it.
Yeah.
Still hates it.
Really?
Yeah.
So, so
Yes.
even now, after you've
Yeah.
like built this great success, he still doesn't like it.
Still hates it. A little bit more accepting now that I at least finished
Yeah.
like the law part at USC, but yeah, no. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then did you find it challenging to do what you were doing without his support, or were you sort of like your own did you back yourself and you were like fine with it?
Yeah, so it was weird. Honestly, I mean, not to get too deep or emotional, but like it was tough. Like, cause I had a parent that like really wanted me to do, like, since I was like 4 years old, I was like waking up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, training, competing on weekends. That's like what I grew up doing, not by choice, but that's just what it was. And
Mm,
so, I just didn't love tennis. Like I play every day now, but like I never thought about tennis, I guess, like the way that I thought about like business. Like I was never super obsessed about it, you know? And so
yeah.
um that was like hard, I guess, because I know like deep down I could have been probably like very good if I was like that, and like I think he knew that, and that hurt him, and so there's definitely some emotional stuff with that. But I ended up I originally dropped out of school. I mean, I dropped out my 4th year of college when the promoting stuff just really took off, and I just basically moved into a house with another big promoter, and I didn't really talk to him for a couple years. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of like what happened. So it it is what it, but I knew that was what I wanted to do. And I was fully
Yeah.
dialed in, and I had been doing it for a number of years. So that was kind of the situation. But we
Mm.
worked it out. We're cool now.
Oh, I'm so pleased to hear.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I also asked the question is I think it's important for people to hear that. I don't think like that situation is that uncommon. I think, we all grow up and go through different family experiences, but parents are not always as supportive of the thing you really want to do, because they're looking at life through their lens as well. And sometimes I find that only the only you can see your own vision, like whatever that is, whether it's like, I just want to go and do this thing, it makes sense to you because the vision's in your mind, but not necessarily the parents or other people around you can see it as well.
It's really hard, and especially anyone that asks kind of about the entrepreneur route. Like I don't try to sound like a pessimist necessarily, but like there's like a reality to it, because it's things don't always work out with it, and sometimes it takes longer than you think, and your significant other is going to have questions, your parents are going to have questions, like, and yeah, to your point, like they can't really see what's going on in your head, and sometimes like I actually know it'll work out, but I like have different like years planned out for different things, and so sometimes like on the outside it doesn't really make sense, and then it all comes together at one point, and it's kind of hard to explain that to people, and so yeah, that was like what I dealt with. You know what I mean? Like he definitely didn't get it, wasn't happy about it, still isn't happy about it, but a bit more accepting. So it's.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that he deep down champions you as well. I think our parents often just want the best for us. And even if they say that they don't particularly warm to something that we're doing, I know that they're proud often. So tell me more. You said you've had no business training. Was there any point in your journey where you decided to get business training or mentorship?
I've had a number of people along the way that were like mentors, like along the journey. But like I didn't feel like I ever was like selected out of the pack, and like someone just like completely made me or something. You know what I mean? Like I feel like everything I've done has been like from the ground up, grassroots. Like I did one thing, it led to another thing, but there was a lot of people along the way that helped me. So I would say that like I didn't have like one key mentor along the whole journey, but like each step along the way, like there was definitely people that like stepped in and helped and stuff like that.
Do you feel that that has been supportive to your growth? Do you think that someone listening, you'd say to them like get a mentor early on, or would you say like just go it on your own? What's your advice?
I feel like the way I went about it was I just started doing stuff, and then the mentor at that time came along. Like I would just, you know what I mean? But I never was like cold reaching out to people that I thought could be mentors, and if I have, or if I did, they didn't reach back out to me. I'll put it like that. You know what I mean? But I definitely like
Yeah.
along the way, by creating my own stuff, people stepped in that were above me and definitely helped. And then you asked also about business training. So I did end up deciding to go back to school um around the time I was like 27. I think like fall of 2020 is when I started. I did end up making this decision to go back because I felt like I was gonna get ceilinged out at a certain point because I kind of was just known as like a connector or someone that knew a bunch of like artists or celebrities or whatever, and I just
Hmm.
felt like to get to the next level, like that would help me, you know, and just make it more sustainable. It's like it's a tough
Yeah.
lifestyle having to run around and be friends with everyone.
Yeah, for sure. I know being connected with lots of people and being in that sort of industry as well, you do have to connect. You do have to sort of keep up with everyone. And what have you, because you touched on being sober, what was the point that you made that decision?
Yes, I just, I'm from LA. I grew up like in the Venice Beach area, like in the 90s, early 2000s, and it was just a very like things were there. You know what I mean? Like, and I was just exposed to a
Mm,
lot of stuff at a young age, and so I just, by the time 19 came around, like I just felt like none of it really was helping me anymore. You know what I mean? And like it didn't feel the same, and I just was kind of over it, to put
yeah.
it bluntly. You know what I mean? So that was kind of how I got there.
Did you feel any pressure from people in your social circles or friends when you made that decision?
Not necessarily, but I also would say that like when I did get sober, I did fully dive into working and doing the event stuff, and so it was like all I thought about. Like I wasn't even really hanging out with people anymore. Like even from like my old group of friends, it was just I was like so
Yeah.
obsessed with this new thing and it just started moving, so it kind of like made it manageable, but
Mm,
I always like hear people like too in like AA meetings or just in general. They're like, "Oh, like I'm afraid to get sober. Like I feel like I'm gonna like lose my friends or I'm gonna lose my social life." And it's like I got sober and my social life changed like for the best. So I don't, I
mm,
don't use that to hold you back. You know what I mean? Like you're
yeah.
just yeah. So I wouldn't be afraid of that.
As well, I think and I can't completely comment because I haven't been in that situation, but I imagine that the quality of the friendships change, because you're connecting with people at a different level. And it sounds like when you made that decision and then you were so focused on growing your business that like you're moving fast, you're growing a business, you're meeting people that align with your vision. So it's like the people that are coming into your life are only going to be in alignment with that.
Yeah, like, and no knock to anyone that I grew up with necessarily, like if I ran into them now, like I'm still friends with them and stuff, but it's, like there's one group of people you meet up with to like drink, and then there's another group of people
Mm,
you meet up with to like figure out an event and plan it out. You know what I mean?
mm,
So you're just kind of like changing the people you're around for like what you're trying to do. So, I mean,
mm.
that's like the way I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So talk to me, how did the work with Universal come into your life?
Yeah, so I was I got I they reached out to me when I was 24. I wasn't trying to work in music actually. Didn't even think it was in the cards, to be quite honest with you. Like I just, I was a big promoter by that point. I was like the young person that was bringing out all the big young names or whatever. So I definitely like had did a lot of the groundwork, but they probably just wanted someone that, was in the mix, knew artists, and could, you know, tell them what was, cool or whatever that even means. But,
Mm,
yeah, it was kind of a fluke. Like, I didn't apply, I didn't know anyone there. Like, it was just something that kind of happened. But like, it wasn't like luck necessarily. Like, I was, yet again, like the work and the event stuff was like all I thought about all the time. So I felt like, I put myself in a position and there was an opportunity. I got lucky. And so that's kind of like what happened.
So you said you weren't so much like looking to be in music and such. As once you accepted and you moved into that area, what was it like? Did you love it? How did you grow? What was the benefit of being there?
I was tripping at first. I remember like there's this thing on like I don't know if it's like on Apple or one of these things where it's like a doc about like how like Eminem when he first goes into like the room when like he first meets with Dr. Dre, he's like, holy shit, this is Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
Holy shit, this is like Jimmy Iovine. Holy shit, I just pissed myself. Like I felt like that when I like first got brought into Universal because like I was like, holy shit, this is a big ass office. Like, holy shit, this dude's like walking around and he has a Bluetooth in his ear. This is just what I imagined from Entourage. Or, like, you know what I mean? So that was like how
Mm,
I felt at the time. I was like, I don't know if like starstruck was the right word, but I was definitely like, holy shit,
mm,
this is crazy.
yeah. Did you have to have a bit of like self-talk to be like, just calm down, just chill? Like, did you play it like not play it cool, but did you play it cool for yourself at least?
I just no, because like the guy that I met with, like I feel like he genuinely liked me and like had
Yeah.
like good intentions and like
Mm,
I didn't get like that vibe. I just kept it like super real, like my background and like
mm,
everything I was doing. And he was like hyped too. He's like, "Oh, this is dope. Like we're gonna do this." Like it honestly it just kind of went. It
mm,
just was like one of those situations where I just felt like went in, had a pretty good feeling that like they were gonna bring me on and maybe like a month or two after that I officially started. But like, you know, I definitely had thoughts like a year or two before that where I kind of was like, okay, like I'm getting to a place now with the nightclub promoting where like I don't know how much like bigger I can necessarily get in it, unless I like opened a club myself or owned it. And so I definitely was like trying to figure out my next move. And I did have like doubts or whatever, and then that just kind of fell out of the sky. So
mm.
sometimes it be like that.
Yeah. And I feel like as we look back, it may have also like for where you are today, just opened up so many more doors and like prepared you for this next chapter. But we'll touch on that in a moment. I wanted to ask you, what did you learn about yourself while working at Universal?
So I guess like from that experience, like I just had no idea what I was doing. And like
Mm,
my biggest worry when I was there was like I can't flop because then I'll just look like the idiot promoter that tried to work in music. So like that was like I was just like I didn't even I enjoyed my time there, but like I didn't at the same time because I was like so worried about making sure everything I was doing was successful so that I wouldn't get fired. Like that was
hmm
like I'm kind of just pessimist and like pessimistic in general, you know what I mean? Like I'm always just like fuck, like this whole shit's going to end soon, like I got to like. So that was kind of like how I felt about it. Worked
Yeah.
out. It worked out, but
Well, it
in
did. You had
hindsight, in hindsight.
some pretty incredible success there. And so, like, what was the best thing that you did like about working there, or what, like, the thing that you took away from that experience?
Yeah, so I guess like the main thing that I learned or took away from it was, I was able to, learn new skills and a new side of the entertainment business. Like I didn't know anything about how to discover or find talent. I didn't know what labels were even looking for. I didn't know anything about like splits, like publishing or master splits or fees or I didn't know anything. I didn't even know what it felt like to find someone on YouTube and message them and fly them out from like Michigan or wherever and bring them to meet with the president of the label. Like I didn't know any of that. So for me, it just taught me that like I can enter a new business like in the entertainment space or whatever and learn it. And it's just like anything else. I think once you do it for like a few years, you get pretty good at it. So
Yeah.
that was the first time I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone from doing more stuff in the event space. Yeah.
Awesome. And now talk to me about Off Sunset. You co-founded the club. What
Yeah.
inspired that move?
Yeah, so that was another situation where I kind of just fell into it. I try to always like talk about it from that lens because I feel like a lot of the stuff in my life, like I always have ideas or want to do things and sometimes it just comes later than I think it is, or one thing doesn't work and then another thing ends up being the biggest like hit that I've had. In that situation, like, I was looking at spaces like in 2017, maybe even
Mm.
before I was working at Interscope. I was trying to like figure out something, and then basically I had left the label end of 2019 because I had some success with the Dua Lipa thing and Youngblood, and so I kind of was like, I just feel like maybe I should start my own thing. And then COVID hit, and basically the way it went down was the lease was up for the spot, and I think we toured it, and then I can't remember if COVID hit after or before, but it was something like that. So we looked at it, and then COVID was happening, and I was like, that's probably not going to happen. And then one thing led to another. I think we ended up getting a pretty good lease deal because it was COVID. And basically, one friend that I knew from Universal, and then one friend that I knew from working at One Oak, we all combined, and then there's two other people. And then, yeah, we launched it like August of 2021. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, right when COVID was ending, we were still having to like cotton swab people's noses and stuff like that, like when it first opened. It was like
Yeah.
that crazy, you know?
Yeah. And so it pretty much like was very successful from the beginning.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
did that?
Yeah. It hit big
Mm.
too, by the way. It was like a culmination of things, though. I think like all of us combined that did it, and the lease deal was good. It was COVID for like a year or two, so we were like the first new thing out the gate, and nothing else really opened in LA for like a year or two. Um I feel like we had like a different kind of a cachet because some of us did work at like the label side, so we had better relationships with artists and other people, and so it just worked. And
Mm.
I don't know if it like necessarily like hit like right out the gate because it was like a speakeasy, so we kind of were just like texting people like low key about it. We didn't do like a big opening night, but I would say after like 2 or 3 months, it just kind of like popped. Like it was like a slow
Mm.
burner momentum type thing. Yeah, that
What
was
was that experience like for you? Like when it took off, were you sort of not surprised because you kind of felt to yourself that this is going to work, or were you pleasantly surprised?
No, no, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually almost didn't even do it. I was just trying to manage artists at the time, and I
Mm.
actually felt like it was maybe a step back to go back into nightlife. I was like, I don't. I was like trying to shake the promoter image and like the nightlife image, and I just also was like nervous. Like I didn't want to attach my name to something that flopped, but I just kind of ended up doing it, and then it ended up being like my biggest talking point for like a few years. So
Mm.
sometimes you just got to go with it.
Yeah. Are you, when you make these decisions, because I know so far in your journey, you've sort of said things have sort of fallen into your lap, or, you've never particularly necessarily gone after something. It's just sort of like they come to you. When you make decisions, are you someone that operates on gut instinct, or are you also very factually driven?
I mean, look, like, you know, to make it clear, like, all I think about every day is work, right? So, it's not like I'm just some lucky guy that hangs out at the pool all day and then people are just calling my phone, giving me opportunities. Like, I'm definitely like trying my best.
Mm.
I'm trying my best, like, to try to get
Yeah.
things to get moving. And, like, some things work, some don't. But yeah, for the most part, like, you know, the things that did work, they did kind of just happen, but at the same time, like, I was like trying my best to make something happen at the same time, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
try not make sense of it anymore. Like, I hate when people are like, oh, like, what are you gonna do next? Or it's like, I'll tell you like what I'm doing right now, and then that'll probably fail, and then something random will end up happening, and then that's like you know what I mean? So it's like I don't try to like overthink it too much anymore.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty,
Yeah.
the way that in our chat so far, like you feel like you're very real. You're like, this is how it is. You're not sugarcoating stuff or painting a picture for people to be seen a particular way. I feel like you're quite transparent. And I think it's a nice way to be too. Like you're just enjoying the opportunities that are in front of you. And I think I love that you're also highlighting to the listeners that you are putting in the effort. Like these things are not just dropping on your lap, because I think sometimes you can look out, particularly with social media, and think, oh, I want that thing, but you don't see the work that people like yourself are putting in to get to where they are.
Yeah, no, it's like, I I remember in 2017 looking at like 5 or 10 different venues, like because my biggest worry at that time was like I was like I don't want to just be a promoter. Like I feel like I should like own a club or I should, you know what I mean? It didn't
Mm,
happen, and then 3 years later, the off sunset thing just kind of happens. You know what I mean? So my advice is like obviously you should have like a crazy work ethic and be focused, but don't stress like the timelines on certain things because sometimes there's just different like moments that it makes more sense.
mm. I love the don't stress the timelines. I feel like that's such a great quote.
It's yeah, no, I like yeah, I get caught up in that sometimes. Yeah.
I think we all do. I think there's so many times I'm like, oh, I want this to happen faster. Like either I'm vocalizing that to myself or I'm hoping something goes faster, or, when things are delayed, you think, why is this happening? But then I find something I guess in my own life I've taken away is like things happen in the right time when they're meant to, and it's not usually on my watch.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's all it is.
Mm,
And it's
yeah.
frustrating as hell. It makes sense when you talk about it later on, but it's hard when you're in the eye of it.
Yeah, for sure. So what inspired you to go back and study law?
Yeah, so when I was at the label, I kind of realized I was like it is about the music, but at the same time, like especially if you're a manager, like you're really just the middleman kind of between the lawyer and the artist most of the time, and you're negotiating these splits and all that. And so I just felt like it would just give me a better understanding and I wouldn't have to like ask as many questions to people and I just would know what I was doing. So that was kind of why I decided to do it. And then yeah, I did that and then yeah, I'm doing the MBA part now too. So I just felt like I'm just kind of at a point now where I'm just trying to like just keep adding things and keep building it out so I'm just a better version of myself and I can be of more value, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
that's pretty. Yeah, it's inspiring to hear you say that, and I think it just shows that we can constantly evolve, we can constantly learn, and the more sort of like, I guess when I look at your journey, I sort of see it like this puzzle, and I've seen these like this different pieces that you've been putting together, and then you'll go and study law, and then that just like fills in the picture even more, and it's like this life of Connor
Yeah,
is
yeah,
being
yeah.
put
No,
together.
but that's what I'm trying to say, like, because I think really long term. And so even back to the stuff with my dad or just other people, like, you know, it makes sense to them when like one thing is working, but like I have kind of like a grander like idea in my head of what I want everything to look like. So it's kind of hard to like explain it to people. So I think like if someone does want to be an entrepreneur and like they have like a bigger idea, it's like especially if you're playing the long game and you're trying to build out this whole thing, it's like I don't even know how you explain it to someone. You know what I mean? Because if I was trying to explain this now to like someone when I was 19, they'd be like, dude, like you're tripping. Like you know what I mean? Like you're nuts, dude. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's complicated. Very complicated.
Yeah. And I guess that's part of the entrepreneurial journey. It's never the same. It's never the same for two people, even if they were doing the same thing. We all have like those, we rise and we fall. There's so many lessons. It can be stressful. But I find as well, at least for me, it's quite rewarding too. Have you found that for yourself?
Have I found what? Sorry?
Have you found the entrepreneurial journey rewarding for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a love-hate relationship.
Mm,
Sometimes I wish I just lived a normal life, but I don't think I could either though. You know what I mean? Like I
mm,
don't know if like I could just work like just have like one thing that I did and like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just I just
Mm,
am like wired differently. And it's like a gift
mm.
and a curse. It's a gift when it's working and you know what I mean? And it's but yeah, no, I'm happy with it. It's easier.
So,
It's
question.
yeah, sorry, what were you gonna say?
Go ahead. I was just going to ask you another question. Do you want to finish off that train of thought if you still remember it?
I would just say it's easier now. I would say like
Yeah.
I know now kind of like what the roller coaster looks like for me. And so usually it's like, I'll be doing one thing and then one thing hits and then like that like slows down and then I'll like maybe like miss something and then it always like goes up over time, but like I know usually it's like, maybe for 2 years I have one thing that's working and then for 1 year I'm cold. Like so it's like that's kind of more like how it works for me, at least in my trajectory. So it was a lot harder in the beginning when like I would feel like devastated if I like lost one thing but now I kind of like okay like that so that's kind of it gets easier with time. It gets easier.
Mm.
Knock on wood.
What would you
Knock on wood.
knock on wood? Yeah, I think so because you bring different experiences and you've got runs on the board. So there's a level of confidence in yourself as well. When you're young and starting out, it's like, although when you're younger, you sort of have that naivety thing as well. You just go gun
There's
ho with
less at
something and
stake. Yeah, at the
yeah,
same time it's harder. Like I'm 32, right? So like when
yeah.
things aren't working, it's like holy shit, like I'm 32.
Mm,
Whereas before I kind of always knew like even when I was like 22 or 23 like if it all flopped I was like I could just go back and like finish school. You know what I mean? So it's like
yeah.
that what you're saying it's true. Like when you're younger there's less stake in the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But before we wrap up our interview today, I would just want to ask you, is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you would like to share with our audience?
I feel like we covered everything. I feel like this was good. Like I like giving kind of like a behind the scenes look at like what the reality is of everything. So I feel like this was great. I feel like you asked a lot of good questions.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I've always been really fascinated about people's journeys and I love the behind the scenes because I know that what I see in front of me isn't always, you don't get to see that bit and that's the interesting part. And so, yeah, it's always a joy getting to like hear those bits from my guests as well.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Cool. So this is your favorite bit now of the show.
Let's go. Fire
The
them off.
leaders lane sprint. Okay. So first question, what's the best experience you've had in your life?
Best experience I had in my life. Probably getting sober, honestly.
Hmm.
Probably getting
Awesome.
changed my life. Changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I would lose it all if I wasn't sober. And I know that.
Mm, beautiful.
Yeah.
Who or what brings out your best?
My dad. My dad lights a freaking fire under my ass still to this day. Turned me into a psychopath that just thinks about work all the time and nothing's ever good enough. That is
Yeah.
him in a nutshell, you know?
It's interesting, like obviously I'm not in your shoes, but when I look at your story, while I can relate to similar things with your dad and my own dad, what I have noticed is I feel like there's a sense of work ethic that he instilled in you by osmosis, and the type of childhood that you did have. So I feel like that's a really great quality that you have acquired from that too.
Yeah, no, it is a gift and a curse, but it's all him. That is all his doing.
Awesome. All right. What's one thing that you'd like to attempt before you die?
I was just talking about this actually like a week ago. I want to do skydiving.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try that out. I haven't done it yet.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's one thing that I'm a bit too afraid to do.
Nuts, right? I
Yeah.
was talking to this
Yeah,
guy, he's a
you'll have
doctor, and he does skydiving all the time.
yeah, nice.
I'm gonna try that at least once.
Yeah, awesome. You'll have to let me know how you go.
Yeah.
All right, my last question for you is what did you enjoy most about our conversation?
I like that you asked kind of like how I felt along the whole journey, because I always would, when I was like coming up, I'd always try to like watch all these like interviews about, like CEOs or entrepreneurs or successful people and like you kind of can like see like even if they talk about how they started in the garage or whatever, like no one ever really talks about how they felt like on the day to day or like what kind of was going on like mentally or emotionally during that time. And
Mm.
I feel like it would help someone else when they're going through it. You know what I mean? Because um it's really hard when you're kind of putting things together and you don't really know even where the finish line is or like what that looks like. And so it's nice to like kind of hear what people were going through like in their head even, and so I liked those kinds of questions that you asked.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I've loved chatting with you, and thank you so much for giving me your time. And yeah, wishing you all the best with your next adventures that come.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you, Monica. I appreciate it. This was a great talk.